What's up? Hey, Jen. Let me gotta get Tanisha in here when she gets here. I know you'll appreciate this one today. Super heavy, super heavy. You know, I'm gonna make certain people uncomfortable, probably. Hey, Crystal. But you know, that's what we like to do. We like to make people uncomfortable. Where's Tanisha? Tanisha. How you doing? Hey, hey, Queen. My little crew that always joins us. I appreciate y'all. Ooh, today's gonna be interesting. Today's gonna be super interesting. So for those who know, we are talking about child sexual abuse. Marlene, we're good. These little ones are crazy, but I love them. Marlene, my beautiful, beautiful best friend for 1,000 years. So yeah, we're gonna talk about child sexual abuse. Now, this is a topic that can be very uncomfortable for a lot of people, which is understandable because the sad part about this situation is that most of the time it's family based, like it's happening within their family. And for most of the time we stay shut or we don't say anything for what it would do to the family. But this protection that we think we're doing for the family based off of fear is actually causing a cycle, a sick cycle that is just getting worse and worse and worse as we grow older. Now, I personally wasn't sexually abused when I was younger, but I know many friends of mine that were. Most of them by close family members or close friends of the family. And I remember being younger and because, you know, my dad is my best friend. And I would tell my dad, like, because I wanted to help them so bad, but obviously I can't do anything. But eventually, you know, truth came to light and those people were handled accordingly. But what happens to those people that go through that as a child? Because for me, I may not have went through it as a child, but I went through it where someone tried to violate me and I was 31 years old. So I was older. And it was somebody that I would have never expected that. I don't want to say family friend, but if you want to call it that. And first of all, I felt like, how have you been looking at me this whole time? I've known them, I knew them for like about 10 years. And it was like, how have you been looking at me this whole time that you attempted something like this to me? And then I also looked at myself like, did I come across this for this person to even think that was okay to do? Just so many things. And I was 30 something years old and I had a lot to process and swallow because the people that I felt were supposed to protect me in that situation, I don't feel I was protected by. And it affected me big time. And I was an adult. Now, as an adult with, you know, the knowledge and wisdom, whatever in my journey, you know what I mean, of growing in self, I'm at a point where I'm at least mature enough that although it affected me a lot, I was able to take that situation and process it accordingly to realize, like, all right, you are not to blame. This person is a sick motherfucker. And the people that were supposed to protect you couldn't protect you because they maybe had a form of trauma that was triggered when I had my experience. So that's the thing. Because this shit is so sick, there's people that maybe want to help you but can't help you because they were also traumatized in some way, shape, or form in that way that they probably internally froze. So we can think that people will shut down on us or not be there for us, and we'll be like, oh, they're messed up, they're this. Hey, girl. And then we'll realize that everybody's going through something. Everybody's going through something. Even the person that chose to disrespect me in that way. Hey, girl, they have some form of whatever trauma they have been through. And that's not to excuse what they did. Wrong is wrong. But that is to say that when it comes to people like that, it's whatever. But when it comes to people that you love, a certain protection in return and you don't get, we have to also think about the fact that they might have been through a specific trauma too. What up, girl? So that's what I realized in my situation was that these people, you know, had their own trauma of what they had to deal with, and it was difficult for them to process my trauma without theirs being intertwined in that mental state. So I say that to say that I was able to do that at 30 something years old and then heal through that, you know, within that and just move forward in the best way I can, you know. But how does someone that's a child who is not there yet to do that they can sit there and realize that they are not at fault, that this person was a sick person, that what was being done to them was wrong, et cetera, et cetera. A child can't do that. I know all of us, even if it wasn't sexual abuse or something else, all of us have been through something as a child that was traumatizing in some way, shape, or form that we have held in and we have said nothing to nobody. Probably not even our friends. Like, we all have those experiences in life. Now, those have, I'm sure, affected all of us in some way about how we handle our friendships, our relationships, our intimacy, all these things. So my question becomes like, how does someone who's a child, how do they heal from that? How do they find their way? It still affects us now. You know, it's one of those things where, like, you know, I know we have the power to heal and rid of trauma to a certain degree. I know we do. You know, so one, we have to figure out how do we let it affect us less so that we can parent differently, right? And not parent paranoid. We don't want to do that either, because we don't want to make it seem like everybody's going to be a creep and a this or that. I mean, you do think like that, but you don't want to think like that either, you know? Because you may have some good people that are going to be there for you, that are going to help you, that are going to be your genuine tribe, you know, that are not about that. And we need that community of people. But we also have to now look at, okay, how do we heal ourselves? And now how do we truly, truly, truly protect our children? Because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. We're going to have to go through what we're going to go through. But in order for us to stop this cycle, how do we now protect our children, right? And with that may come judgment, because there's going to be people that think you're doing too much or this and that, you know? And it's like, how can we not do too much when this is how serious this is? One of the most insane things to me was when I think about R. Kelly and you hear the story that he was molested by his sister. And then the brother talks about him being molested by the sister as well, and that nobody wanted to say anything because it's a sister. So they didn't want to put the mother through that. So they stood quiet. So what did that create? That created a whole predator. It created a predator. He became a predator, dude. It's so sad. And now he has to face those demons. But again, not to excuse him, but how did that happen? You feel what I'm saying? How did that happen? And how did we not stop that to stop creating that? Because that person is still a victim. He may be a creep. Y'all may hate him. He may be this. I get it. I don't like it either. Trust me. It's the most, that's the part. That's one thing that's like, back the fuck up when it comes to children or violating children. I don't fucking play with that. But I also want to look at things just outside of my emotional standpoint. You know, I look at this person. I'm like, yo, this person was a victim who was probably molested by someone who was also a victim, and continue, and it keeps going back. Where are the signs to this? How do we track them? And how do we know how to protect our children more? Because there's no reason that we should all have that in common, that we can all relate to this. This is traumatic bonding is what this is. And it's
Sadly
not fucking cool.
Yeah.
So we're in this trauma together, cool. Let's work together on how to fucking heal this shit. Because this gotta fade out. This is not fucking cool.
Yeah, you know, I want to chime in because this is not something that's like, it's like a taboo, but it's not at the same time. It's like we're well aware, but yet we don't do anything as a community to stop these things from continuing in our own cycles.
Look, how about still seeing the family member and everyone act like it didn't happen or make excuses for why it did? Right there.
Exactly. And I think that one of the things that we tend to do, and this is as a collective, so it's not talking about like each person individually, but what as parents, what do we do as a collective, is we swipe under the rug because we are more embarrassed of what they're going to say about our family as a whole than what they're going to say or how you're going to deal with your child after that. And then that's the problem, that why are we so worried about what we look like as a whole family, but we're not actually worried what we're like as a whole family? Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, we're off. What the things that we should be caring about is protecting our children. So it's like, how do we go? That's how troubled our minds are, that we rather protect the look of our family than the security for our children in our own families.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of comments where we know, like, for example, I wasn't allowed to sleep at anybody's house. First of all, I wasn't allowed to go to nobody's house.
Oh, you were one of those kids?
Yes, my mom was one of those moms.
Everywhere, but I wasn't as crazy as people thought I was, because I was able to go everywhere. Nothing impressed me. I was able to do this, do that, you know?
But one thing though, it's like they would say, oh, you know, I don't let you sleep over because of men. But so it's crazy how we would do that to protect. Like, we would protect our families from the shit that's going on in our families. And it's like, now that I'm an adult and I realize all of this, I'm like, yo, y'all just a bunch of sick people that didn't know how to deal with something, swept it under the rug. And then instead of, like, you know, what normal people do, which is like talk through the trauma, figure out the core of the source of the trauma, and stop it from happening and continuing rolling over to your further generations, we're just hiding it and hoping that it goes away. And it's like, no, in doing that, we are causing more predators. We are causing more people to feel comfortable, because this is somehow, in a sense, now been like normalized in our families without us wanting it to be normalized. Like, this is really crazy.
That's true. My girl said, why don't people realize the moment you have your own family, that's the only family you need to prioritize? And if the opinion and fuck the opinion of the extended family. Well, I said fuck. I know you put F, but you know me. So that's so just emphasizing it. I agree. But that's so true, because that's how I move now, and I don't give a fuck who don't like it. Like, certain people in my own family can't be with my children alone. Like, you just can't. Like, you have proven to me you are not at the mental state to care for my children the way I need them to be cared for and protected. So therefore, under supervision, otherwise you cannot see my children. You know, can you stay with my children? You know what I mean? Like that. Like, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I had a family member that I was talking to earlier today and yesterday because of this topic. And honestly, just having a simple conversation with this person, there was healing going on. Like, this person was releasing, and it was actually hard. It was hard for her. And I know that she was doing it for like a greater good, because she didn't really want to talk about it. But she trusts me, and it's something that we've spoken about a lot. And especially after having children, I asked her more questions, because I wanted to know what was my part. How do I, as a parent, play my role to the point where I can protect my child, but not take away their livelihood, because it's not their fault either, you know? And I feel that most of the time, And, you know, maybe I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But most of the time, these men over sexualize these women that then become like very promiscuous and very like controlling men through their sexuality because they never learned. And so we think as a society we're okay, but we're really not. We're teaching women to empower themselves sexually with a power that was taken away by force. So it's like, what are we really teaching our women? What are we really telling them to empower themselves from? When it's not things that were their fault. And now we want them to be responsible for sexuality in that way. I feel like that's wrong to do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I also want to mention that, like, it's not coming from an opinion like outer. It's from someone that talks to people that has had experiences through that.
Right.
Of me actually visualizing what I can do for my children according to their personalities. Like some of my children
Yeah.
they don't want to hold up a conversation with you, or
Right.
they might not want you to hold their hand. Like it's something so simple, and how I can protect that without creating like little spoiled brat babies that they know
Yeah.
that, oh, they don't have to do anything because it's family at the end of the day, you know.
No,
But you
yeah,
know,
yeah, no, for sure. Jen said not just men, women too can molest. That is so true because here's the thing. Talking about men don't be talking about this as much as women do, and men also get molested and violated just as much, okay, by
just
older
as
women
much.
or by same sex, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the crazy part is that when you actually talk to a lot of your let's say boy cousin, your guy cousins or guy friends or whatever, a lot of them have stories of when they're younger that an older woman is who they lost their virginity to or did something sexual with. And then when I started to put the pieces together, I'm like, how old are you? And they'll be like, oh, like 13. I'll be like, how old are they? Oh, like 18, 19. Do you know you were molested? I'm like, they
And they won't even click.
they violated you. Like that was, you know what I mean? You didn't know. That's, you know what I mean? So I'm like, they knew exactly what they were doing to somebody, you know, but a lot of them have stories like that. But look how much all of them have denormalized it. Like there was nothing wrong with that because
Mm-hmm.
if he was a boy. No. These men are just as effed up here as we are, okay? Like and I say we,
Yes.
like in women, you know what I mean, like as a whole, and that is
As a
coming
collective.
from, as a collective, that is coming from this over sexualization of doing this to our children, where this sick cycle. But what's crazy is that I remember when I was older, there was this my mom's friend, and she would always walk around naked in the house, but it was like not sexual though. Here's the thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it was more of like if you see people in the forest, like in the back in the days, I don't know, and they're just naked walking around like nothing. That's how it was, and nobody saw that anything. She, you know, she would just walk around and get her clothes after she got out the shower, did what she did, right? But I think that maybe there was a point that it wasn't so over sexualized, and that was just the way it is, right? Caribbean, yeah, the Caribbean they be like that too. My husband was
I
saying,
was gonna say, I'm in my house. I was the person that was like that. Like if I'm going to the bathroom to the room, like bro,
right, but
it's
you don't
nothing
even
you
think
never
it's like
seen before.
right, but you see, we're doing it in that innocent way, and then I feel like what happened was it was that, and then this is the reason why you can't even nurse your baby with your teta out somewhere without somebody going crazy, right? And thinking that you're sexualizing something, and it's like, bro, I'm not even thinking about that. That is like so far from what this really actually is if you knew it, right? The sperm, yep.
Yeah.
So you realize that you can't even do that most natural thing to feed your baby without people thinking you're over sexualizing, because what they probably did is they probably took away our natural ways of being naked or being open like that, and the intent, yep, and over sexualize it that down. You can't even do that no more. Like that doesn't work in this civilization no more, because now their thoughts are going to a whole nother place of assuming that you're asking for a certain thing because that's what is received through that message. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the way they recreated our bodies and our natural state of being has been over sexualized now. So now the most smallest thing, it's too much now. So we have to learn that times do change, and you cannot keep doing the same thing in different times Sick minds, yeah, and expecting the same thing. No, we're gonna deal with a bunch of people getting popped because I'm gonna kill people if they keep doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna kill somebody. Like,
pretty much. Like,
you're gonna fucking create a murderer.
This is where we're getting to.
I'm gonna wild out. Like, we're not gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? So we have to, instead of, because everything in this world, I do feel that we have the power to remove ourselves as much as we can from a world that doesn't suit us. And that means protecting our family, moving to the places that we feel more safe at. Words to her. Moving to places that we feel more safe at, keeping our children with the people that we feel the most safest with. Okay, and whoever has a problem with that or whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because like I said, if we keep ignoring the stuff, then I'm gonna place myself or my children in a situation where I didn't get to protect them the way I was supposed to, and something can happen to them, and that's gonna eat me up, and then I'm also hurt somebody. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to do that. So there's a lot of different signs that I didn't realize that I was reading up on something, that these normal things that children do, that then they'll stop doing, or it's like they revert back to like a baby because they need protection, it feels like. Because
I have something to say about that.
There's one thing they say, let's say your child was potty trained, all good, and now they're like older, maybe like 10 years old, 11 years old, and oh my God. Yep. And whatchamacallit, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So they'll
be like peeing the bed and stuff.
They'll pee in the bed. They'll be peeing in the bed, and that's not common for them. Or they'll be where they don't want to talk to nobody anymore. They're very to themselves. All these different things. There was another thing. It says sucking the thumb. So look at this thing of solitude. You have solitude in there. You have fear now also. Like if somebody, that they get so startled every single time somebody comes at them. You know what I mean? So you have fear in there. You have all these emotions combined together to a brain that can't even.
I want to add another one. Isolation. So they're like more, they want to spend more time alone. They spend more time locked up in their rooms, especially if they turn the lights off. And don't, like, also remember that every child is different. Like it can be combination things, and just because it might be one of these things, it doesn't mean it's absolutely right. Exactly, you know, that your child, you know, don't take it to the extreme. But also, like, it's because we have to get to know our children. Like, I already know when one of my children is upset, or when she's like, what her apology is. Like, I already know. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get to know the way that they are. So when they do something, you can easily tell, like, oh, something's going on with this kid, or something's going on with that kid. And I think that's a key point to parenting, is getting to know the individualism of your child, like how they are separate to other people, and then how they act with people. Because we have to be aware that some of our children can be followers. Some of our children can be easily manipulated. Some of our children, you know, like my children are not like that, but those are things I had to teach them. There was one that was like a little como que se deja llevar. Like, she'd be like, okay. And I'm like, oh, hold up. No, girl. You know, but I feel that because of all those things, and because of all the sweeping under the rug and not paying attention to their behaviors and stuff like that, we've normalized a lot of things now that are not normal. Like letting little girls go out in crop tops, and like, it's not about your eyes, it's about what the world sees out there. That's the thing,
we in a different time. We can't keep doing the things we did.
Exactly. And it's like, if we're aware that there are predators out there, why would we throw our children into that world without any education, without any like self-preservation? Like, yo, I'm gonna not be so fucking loud, or I'm not gonna be so like, we don't understand. Like, as females, once we start, like, when we're out drinking, we're like, ah! Like, those are not normal behaviors. Those are things that we've picked up that we think are okay. I was one of them. I was a little chicken head in the club talking about woo, 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 you know, and literally playing people. Like, come on. And there's a time where, as adults, we can stop the cycle. We can stop it in its track and not let it move on. Like, I even watch the way I dance in front of my children.
Yeah, I think about
the only way that I knew how was, you know,
yeah,
it was things we never thought about. But we have to start doing our due diligence as parents, and that looks different than what it was a long time ago, like completely different. And we have to always just tweak our parenting according to what the times look like.
Yep. It says here, man, I saw an IG page someone created that was posting kids in bathing suits, and there were so many sick comments, and it was gross. I blame social media too. Yeah, man. It's oof.
It gave a lot of people a voice that they didn't have prior, which is good and bad, you know?
Right. Nah, it's really, really crazy. You know, you look at, because although it's like we do it innocently, but like we said, we have to be aware that we're living in a sick world right now. Like, we're living in a truly, truly sick world, you know? If you put a lineup of people, the fact that most people are going to raise their hand to say that they had a child molester they knew in their family, or somebody who got molested, says a lot about where we're at as a society. It says a lot. Yeah. It says a lot. Also, not only that, let me talk about something that I've never seen nobody talk about. Now, I have many, many gay male friends. And what I will say that all of them have in common is they all were sexually abused by an older man when they were younger. So again, I'm not saying all gay men are gay because of that or whatever, but what I am saying is, are we missing something here? Are these certain men that are gay maybe because they got robbed of their, like, stripped of their manhood at such an early age? Hold on one second. Hold on, puppy. I'm having a very important conversation. Today is the 25th. Why? Oh, today's Monday. Okay. All right. I love you. Are you still painting? Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Sorry. So I'm like, there's a portion of them, all the ones that I know have that in common, which concerns me because it makes me wonder, were they, you know, confused because of what happened to them, that they would never feel like a full man because of what they went through. So this is the way they escape to their safety internally. That's number one. And then I know that there's many, many men that are on the down low. And I know this because my gay male friends would sleep with married men. They would, like, literally walk into the room and take off their ring. And I used to be like, oh my God, like, oh my God. There was a time I remember I had to help them find parking, and I went outside, and there was a car seat in the back when I went to sit in the back, like, to help them find the parking, and I was like, oh my, okay, all right. So I say that to say, were those men also violated, but they chose to try to hide their trauma and did not deal with it and just brush it away, and then that's where they have these double lives. So they try to keep up with society, said that you have to be a man, you have to have to. So because they got violent, they don't want to talk about it, they don't want to do it, but they get their healing and their whatever through doing that on the down low.
On the side.
You know, so I feel that everything comes to place in everything we choose, who we choose sexually, who we, you know, everything. So many things come into play because, like I said, having certain things in common that are traumatic is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. We should be having so many more other stuff in common, like healing, you know what I mean? And those kind of things. But the trauma part, it's like we're all in this ball of fire.
Yeah. You know, I was asking her too, because I was asking her, like, how did they get you to do things, you know? Because another thing that people don't understand is that once that person becomes a victim once, that person might very well be a victim all the time. Like, literally other predators can smell that off of you, that you're weak-minded, that they can corner you, and that you're gonna stay silent. And so that, like, rebelliousness of us letting our children say no and say, like, no, I do not want you to, I don't want to, my children are not allowed to sit on anybody's lap. They sit on like, you know, family that, and it's because, you know, sometimes it happens, but even then I've caught them and say like, I'm not allowed to sit on anybody's lap, and they jump off. Now, any family member offended by that, I'm sorry, but
they say, hold on, I don't care.
You really also have to understand. I don't put nobody's child on my lap, first of all, without asking permission. That's not my family member. You know, and after a certain age, I'm not trying to force your child on my lap or nothing. They don't want me. They don't want me. I don't touch them. That's the way it is. Because I respect, you know, but I do feel that there's this whole like normalization of like putting your child on the lap, or like, oh, let me like go to the store with blah, 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 or go here with blah, blah, blah. No, 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 no. There's something that I read a really long time ago that it mentioned that Aboriginal and Indigenous cultures, even though they have a village to raise their children, they always kept their children for at least the first year of life in the midst of their aura. And it's because you can sense what your child is feeling, and it's like an extended intuition. So when your child would feel uncomfortable around someone, you as the mom can sense that. Right. But we don't practice none of our like our original culture practices or rituals or anything
we're not tapped
anymore.
in, that connected, because we're bombarded, right? It's a spiritual connection, exactly. We're bombarded by what? Work, stress, this, that it leaves no room for you to literally just connect with your child and your baby, even your pregnancy. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
it's so much things that are disconnecting us, and that's what strips us away from the present moment, and that's all we got. That's the thing. Like, it literally is all we have. There is no, you know, future, this or that. The past was just a second ago.
And the future is going to be a second in a little bit.
But at the end of the day, what are we? We're just in the now.
Right now.
We're just in these moments, right? And it's like, the thing is that with these things, what's happening too is that not only are we... Wow, yeah, you see? That was a lot of parents. I remember that. She said, when I was a little girl, my father always used to tell me not to sit on any boy or man, not even him.
Yeah. Not allowed to stand in between legs either. That's a rule.
That's another thing.
Listen, and I tell, and when my children were too small, I will correct the men. I'll be like, no deje que ella se pare en el medio de la pierna. Tú siempre pones la pierna para el lado para que ella se te pare de ese lado, por favor, y gracias. You can ask anybody in my family, you know, because to most people, I don't even have to say anything. It's very respected. And don't get me wrong, like, my uncle's very cariñoso. They have uncles that are very cariñosos, that carry them and everything, but it's very respected. And I'm like, honestly, I'm always hawking. Like, I'm the type of mom that's watching you when you don't think I'm watching you. And then when you think I'm watching you, I'm not really watching you because I already trust you at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
That's the type of... I hover without others noticing that I'm hovering, you know? That's the type of parent that I am. But you can find your little tricks. If your power is in you having that connection with your child, take advantage of that and be like, listen, I was going to jump into something else that we were going to talk about, but that's another thing too, is just being very aware. Don't let your children go off where you don't know where they are. You can't see them. Don't do that, because it takes a second. I watched a video of this guy. They were food shopping in a supermarket, and he stuck his fingers inside of her and sniffed them and walked away in 2 seconds. Like, I'm sure the mom didn't know. The child didn't even know what happened. She was like, what? Like, what's going on? She was standing there frozen, so confused, and her mom didn't see anything. And they were in the same like radius. It wasn't far. It wasn't a huge. It was literally in one aisle.
Wow.
So that's the thing. It's like they're so good. It's not that we're being bad parents. It's that they're good, and now we need to be extra vigilant because times are different. These people will talk to your children online. These people will talk to your...
part right now, man.
That's the worst part, is that they have access to your children online.
She said fathers molest daughters a lot, especially in the South. Yep. I actually
That's
have a friend
sad.
who was molested by her father, which is
And
that's
sick
beyond. Actually, I
people.
know two
Sick
people.
people.
That's sad that I know two people that happened to. That's not cool. Like that's not fucking cool. You know what I mean?
And that's
There was
just the people
something
you
else.
know.
Yeah, exactly.
There's people that still haven't been able to heal and they can't even voice it
Yeah,
out loud because they still can't even believe that happened to
that
them and they
happened to
haven't
them.
been
Yeah.
able to cope.
I'm telling you, that's why I said I was older. You know, so I was able to, it still affected me, don't get me wrong, but I was able to literally like work through that shit. You know what I mean? Like really work through it, talk to people. I didn't have to hold it in. You know, I told who I needed to tell, you know what I mean? And whatever. And then I made sure that that person never saw me again. And I never was around that person. I'll never be around that person ever again, or with my children, or any of us. Like we are completely disconnected from that person. So that's done right there. Now I know what that person is about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we shut the door on that. So, but you know, I was able to do that. But how many other parents can't, you know, weren't able to do that? And then something happened because not only is this affecting the child, number one, traumatically, when the parent finds out, it affects the parent too traumatically because now the parent thinks I didn't do what I was supposed to do. This is why you as a mother have to make sure your babies aren't naked around.
Oh.
Yep. That whole naked
You know,
stuff, it's so tricky. I'm so sorry. It's so tricky to
no,
me
God,
because
it cut off on my end.
yep, because you know when they're babies, they're so used to being just free, right, out there, and it's like for us, we live in California, but like we're like an hour away from the city, so everybody that we know is like in the city. So people come to see us, or they don't, but for the most part, it's just me and my husband, and that's it. And then whoever comes to visit from family from New York that comes here, that's it. But when they come, I don't let them be without clothes. But when it's just us, they're free without clothes. When they're babies, after they get a certain age, I don't allow that. But then what became confusing is as my daughter started getting older, she wanted to be free again because she sees the baby doing it. So then I was like, damn. So now I have to make sure even on the baby, I'm putting clothes on because then it's like, no, let's all put the shirt on now, okay? It's time for us to cover up and protect ourselves here and all this stuff like that, you know? So it's like I had to speed up the process and realize, like, wait a minute, because I'm giving her mixed signals here. And it's like she's not going to fully understand why I don't want her to be thinking it's cool to be out there, because then if we're out in Casa Ajena or somewhere, she's going to think like, oh, let me just take my shirt off, you know? So it's like, when come out the shower and she'll put her panties and she'll be like, I don't need a shirt, I'm cool. That's just tell me I'm good. This just tell me. And I'll be like, Kaylani, I need you to put a shirt on.
She's like, I'm good like this, thanks.
Yeah. And she'll be like, okay, fine. She'll put the shirt and then she'll be like, I don't need no pants, I'm good. And I'm like, Mama, I need you to put some pants on. I'm like, you say you want to be like me, look, I'm dressed. Let's all get dressed here, please. You know?
Yeah, that's really
like,
funny.
I also now, before, you know, when they're babies, again, you innocently let them shower together. You know, when they were
I used to do that too.
I would let, you know, Tristan and Kaylani shower together, and you know, Tristan was probably like 1.5 and Kaylani was probably like 3 months. You know, like they were babies, you know. But as he started getting, like, now he showers by himself because he's already 5. He showers by himself. But I let the girls shower together now, so like they get in the bath first, whatever, and then afterwards he gets in the bath. And but with all of them, I always tell them when they're getting out the bathroom to cover themselves. You know, they go in the room, close the door, and then we get dressed and do what we do, you know? So it's like you try to instill all these little things even when they're small, because they don't need to know the grand of where we're doing this from, but they just, as long as they get comfortable with being, knowing that they have privacy and they have to protect that privacy, and that's okay to do that, then I think that afterwards, as they get older, you can have certain conversations with them on why it gets even more important as you get older. Because you're going to have to give them the straight raw of what this world is, okay? We can protect them all we want, but the truth is that you're going to have to let them know it's a cruel fucking world out there. You know what I mean? And my dad would always realize that, like, nobody gives a fuck about you. Nobody's going to do nothing for you. You know what I mean? Everyone is lying out there. You know what I mean? All this and all that. So you have to find your way on your own and stuff. So it's like, they're going to have to learn it's a cruel world, number one. They're going to have to know. And then, like I said, as they get older and they understand more, you get more specific on what they need to protect.
Yes.
You know, you get more specific. Yeah, like I told my son, I'm like, no, that's your, you know, whatever. You don't let nobody, when you use the bathroom, nobody comes in with you. If you go to a friend's house, if you go somewhere, Nobody goes in that bathroom with you. You go inside, you close that door. If somebody tries to come in, you say, excuse me, I'm using the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, you check them. Don't let nobody try it. Like, you know.
We have that conversation, and like, they went to Amari's uncle's house, my husband's uncle's house, and their great grandma was gonna go into the bathroom with them, you know, innocently, like a village, you know, and she's gonna go help her in the bathroom, and she's like, excuse me, my mom and dad said that nobody's allowed to come inside the bathroom with me. If I need help, I'll let you know. Close the door, went into her business, and then was like, hey, you think you could help me clean myself? And she called me literally just to tell me that, because she's like, I've never heard of a 3-year-old saying that before.
Listen,
but
it's exactly what I tell them. I tell them
that. Something that I like to implement is that this is their world. This is their life. So even though I'm here to guide them, and I play a huge part, I don't play the most important role. And I need to make them aware of that their most important role is their own discernment and their own intuition. And so that's why I don't do certain things are very strict. Like right now, we just separated their bedrooms, so now it's a girl's room and a boy's room. Because they're older. It's not something I would have liked. I would have liked them to be together for a little bit longer. But because of society, the cartoons that they're watching, there's literally not even one cartoon that doesn't have a love story. That also impulses children, and we don't want to have that conversation. But they have a lot of these things that kids don't know what it is. And a lot of people think it's okay to introduce like sexuality to children, but in reality, their minds are not capable of holding any of that information. About that shit. They're not. We're doing sex. Way more harm than good by having race. Those conversations.
They're not thinking about nothing but playing and fun and this and living. That is what they're fucking
And we hear stressing them out.
And we hear like, oh, they gotta learn this. No.
But because I talk to them in that way, and that's what, you know, I'm not saying I'm perfect every time, but that's what my, you know, parenting in a circle is gonna look like for them. Like, that also comes with a whole set of responsibilities where I'm like, listen, you are responsible for yourself, but you're also responsible for the consequences of your actions. So it's not just like, oh, here, do a free-for-all. But like, for example, they misbehaved one time, and Amari's mom, so their grandma, was like, I'm going to put you on timeout. And Enzo was like, can you please call my mom? I'm not sure if you can give me a timeout. You know, but but you know what? Also, because not anyone can just come and tell them what to do. That's like, that not just anyone can tell them, stop running, stop stop jumping. They're kids.
Yep, I'll be specific on who can tell them what and who they're supposed to listen to.
Yes, and I'm sorry if my kids don't listen to you. Maybe I might have told them not to listen to you. I don't know, maybe. I don't even have to say it all the time, because most of the time people have a clear mindset of what you can say and what you cannot say to a child. Like, I don't have to have a conversation with my best friend because she already knows. I don't have the conversation with my mom because I did, though, have to apprehend my mom about saying, oh, don't do this because blah, blah, blah. Like, she used to do that to me. Oh, no, I got to put the salir cuco. There's no cuco. I'm not lying to them about no damn monster that doesn't exist. I'm causing fear for no damn reason. And they should just be listening to me. I shouldn't have to threaten them. You know, so giving them that sovereignty is very, very, very important, because when somebody does something to them, they hold them up to that. Why did you do this? Why did this person do that? I didn't like that. And they are in tune with what they don't like, which is so important. Because when someone treats them a certain way, they speak up about it. They feel the confidence to say, mommy, this and this happened, and I didn't like it, and not feel scared to tell. You know?
It's crazy because my son, see, my Kehlani and Celeste don't, they're gonna say what they're gonna say. there's no stopping that. Much. My son, though, is very he's like a scaredy cat, you know what I mean? So for everything he cries, you know, he's very emotional, and
Enzo's emotional,
he doesn't like, you know, so I have to always remind him, like, be like, mean what you say and say what you mean, and don't be scared. Like, don't be scared. I'm like, there's nothing.
Put your head up.
Yeah, I'm like, there's nothing.
Speak up loud. Raise your voice.
I'm like, say it clear, say it loud, mean what you say what you mean, say it with your chest, like, say it. Like, don't be scared. I'm telling you. You know what I mean? I was like, so when so when I'm trying to be tough, you know, he's still like, oh. And he's like, I mean this, you know. I'm like, say it. And then he'll say it again loud, you know. But it's like, he's different, you know. Like, I have to really nurture it. And it's like, it's not really a side of him that is who he is. But it's like, you're just going to have to get it out sometimes, buddy. You're going to have to be that person sometimes in this world. So I need you to get used to that, because I don't want nobody taking advantage of you, you know. I don't want nobody to think they could get over on you or none of that, you know. Like, you could be nice, you could be sweet, you could be all that. But you're to the point where people are gonna like take advantage of you. You know what I mean? Like, say it. Don't ever be scared.
I say that to Enzo a lot.
My homegirl Melinda posted, yes, even the toys. Did you ladies see the video about the LOL dolls? I sure did. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that we're not realizing that all these things subtle. Well, they're not really subtle, but people's make it seem like
they're subtle,
right?
To the subconscious mind.
To the right. Everything
to the conscious
is all playing a factor in the over sexuality of what these children. And now we're adding all these things in school at a certain age that are not necessary, because they're not thinking about these things. Anybody who has a kid, tell me that they on their own talk to you about, and I'm saying, like, weren't influenced by something else just within your
exactly.
Did they ever now want to know about sex, about race, about you know, like all these? No, they don't. They really are just like, are you gonna play the Legos with me? You said you were. Like, are we gonna get the ice cream that you said we were gonna get because you told me we were? Like, there's something.
That's what they're worried about.
Yeah, my son is thinking about something that I'm here just caught up in of what happened earlier, and then I go to the room and he's like, "Oh, we still gonna go get the ice cream?" And I'm like, "You're not even thinking about that, dude. You're not thinking about any of that." And I'm still like a dummy, like, "Oh, what did I do to him? Did I destroy him? Am I a bad mom?" And he's perfectly fine, just making sure that I take him to whatever the case is, right? That I promise him. So it's like, it's from the toys, from the cartoons of what we're allowing them to watch. Now, I don't want people to get it twisted for me to say that if you let them watch cartoons, you know, this, your child's gonna get abused by somebody. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is, let's cover all our corners. Okay? Let's cover all our corners. Number one, to protect our people, our children, from people that we know or we have an intuition that they might not be the safest person for our children to be around. Now, if they have a problem with that, it is what it is. We got to really stop giving a fuck, especially when it comes to our children. That is the one thing you have to master as a parent, is called not giving a fuck. And raising your children the way it makes you feel safe and you feel comfortable, and what is best for them and their protection and their safety. So, number one, if there's somebody in the family that even remotely something, ya, se acabó. That person is done. I don't care who they are. That's the thing. I don't care who they are. There's no exceptions to this. There's no exceptions, okay? Number two, teach your children that nobody has secrets in the house. We don't do secrets with nobody. That is one thing I saw in an article, and it was like, a happy surprise. Like, if we're gonna do something that's for us, we're gonna do a happy surprise, a mental evaluation. Yep. You know, there's no secrets with us. We tell each other everything. We are honest.
We don't even use that word in this house.
Exactly.
There's no point.
There's no point to use the word secret. And you know, if they ever get it, they get it from watching the cartoon or something. And I will be like, no, we don't. I don't know about no secrets. We don't do secrets.
You see, I haven't seen any cartoons that have said it, but I know you told me one time.
Yeah.
And I was like, actually, there was a cartoon I saw yesterday for adults.
But it was rare. But I did hear it once, and I was like, you know what I mean? I was like, wait a minute, you know, like, nah, we don't really, they're like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't even think, you know, they were really quick to be like, okay, and dismiss it and be like, okay, cool, so we doing surprises? Yes, we do surprises, you know what I mean? But also that, you know, even when they do something small as going to the bathroom in somebody's house, you know, they have to know that there are boundaries there when they go to the bathroom and stuff. Even in their own house, you know, I make them do it here, where it's like, close the door, you know what I mean? And do what you gotta do, handle your business, and then come out, you know?
And you go alone, like, because
You
sometimes the
go,
girls together want to go
yes.
into, and I'm like, no, 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 se acabó.
Yeah, they be
Like
going
you
in like it's
said,
a
se
whole
acabó.
party. Like it's a bunch of drunk people. You know, when you're drunk with your girls going to the
Yeah,
bars, getting into
and
the
then
back of
it's
the
like,
club.
yeah,
Come, everybody, come in with me.
it's all good, it don't matter. And it's all good because as an
Right,
adult, you can do that. You can do that because
right.
you are gonna be aware. But as a child, we don't understand that those things could be result in habits. That then it's
Yep.
okay to let anybody into the bathroom, or you use the bathroom in front of people, and it's just like a normal thing,
Exactly.
which is
So
cool. I can legit
please.
use the bathroom anywhere in front of anybody. Like if I have an emergency, ain't no emergency stopping me from doing what I need to do. But that I'm not teaching them. I mean, they'll know because I'll be like, listen, we have an emergency. We gotta go in those bushes. But
Right.
they know that it's like extreme cases or whatever.
No,
Oh,
yeah,
there was
absolutely.
another thing. I asked her because now she had a few conversations with other, like she goes to counseling and stuff like
Oh,
that. I'm
wow.
telling you, this is bad.
Damn.
But for years and years, like this was a long
Mm.
time ago. But she was mentioning that 11 to 14 years old is like a very, and I want to say that culturally, I believe it's different. I do believe that like, for example, Dominicans in our culture, I want to say that this is something that has been like secretly normalized, and that they're just like men that just don't know how to control their sexual urges. Now that's different. And I do believe that those are the type of men that target 11 to 14
Yeah.
year olds because they're going through puberty. And that stage is
Yeah.
where women, and also people, you have to understand this is like all strategy. We have to understand the strategy that these people use, like not just the child molesters, but even like you were saying, the TV shows, the clothing, the idols or the celebrities that they
Mm.
think that they look up to, and all these things. Is all a combination of all of that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you think about it, these men are molding those children or those young women to then later be able to have a relationship for longer. So I want to be clear that these are men que están enfermos. They're sick. It's
Yeah.
not the same as like, you know, with malicious, like, because that's malicious. That's a malicious intention. But you have to understand also that you need to be aware of that. You understand? It's like when you do something wrong as a child and you don't really realize until you've been apprehended a couple of times and you're like, oh, this is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of those men they won't even mentally be aware that
No.
they're doing something
There's
sick
there's
and
nothing wrong with
wrong.
what they're doing.
Exactly. So being
Yeah.
aware of that window for that type of men, I feel is very important. Now, if you're white, you have a whole nother mess around you. Those men are extremely sick. Not again, the ones that are specific to these actions. What? I'm sorry, give me a second. English? Okay. Oh, it's because it's in Spanish, so you don't know what it starts with there. But there you go. Go ahead. You're welcome. So now, if we're talking about like the Caucasian man or the basic American men, I've heard stories where neighbors have crawled into the window and done things to infants. That's what you're dealing with. If you are dealing with those people around you, like that, you understand, like that's an extreme case, but just
Yeah.
realize how easily that can be done. If you don't have a baby monitor, if you don't have security cameras in your house, like who would think? But that's how sick and troubled the minds of these people are. So we have to be aware of everything. That's not that I'm here like, checking their bedrooms but
No,
when I
yeah,
moved to a
yeah.
new town, I made sure my windows were all locked. I made sure that my curtains, like people couldn't see through my windows all the time. Like
Right.
just certain little precautions that some people might think are overdoing it, but it's just basic protection, even against someone that's not after molesting your child. Like it's just basic. But when I
And
go
you can check
shopping,
now too. And there's that app. I don't know if you've seen it. It's an app where it tells you in your neighborhood how many sex offenders like child sex offenders.
Yes, you know,
They
I
are,
did
because they
that.
have to report it, and you can see like if that area has a lot of those.
In
I forgot what app it is.
you know what I did? I went to the actual like government website where they put that, right? My little sister was 4 years old when I decided to check that database, meaning like I didn't even have children or nothing. And I was like, let me just look, because you never know, right? That's me talking like as a, like in my early 20s, like they're thinking I knew everything. When I go to search, girl, just in my neighborhood, there were so many red dots on the screen that I was like, I turned it off. I was like, no. My mom was like, what happened? I was like, you want to see? I put the computer back on. I was like, this is where we live.
Yeah,
this is where we live. Like,
and it shows
this
you.
is crazy.
I know the database. I know the one I went. It showed you pictures of these people.
Yes,
like
yes, it had pictures.
like the
Not
profile,
everybody had a picture, but a lot of people did.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh my god, you could walk around these people and not even know.
And have a supermarket incident and not even know that happened to your child. Now your child's like has trust issues, and you don't even understand. Like, it goes really far. Another thing I actually wanted to talk about this, and I wasn't sure we were gonna have time, but I'm gonna throw this out here too. I want to say that I know a lot of women whose children already masturbate. And that's normal now. I'm talking about when I was in my mid-20s, I had a friend that told me that her daughter would put her hand between her legs. I thought they were watching me. Put her hands between her legs and rock herself back and forth, right? Then I had a family close that did that also, and I started like noticing, and I was like, hold up, that's weird. That's weird. Like, we as parents need to stop letting these professionals tell us that this weird shit is normal, because it's freaking not. And this girl took her child to the thing and all this stuff, and you know what ended up the end result of this? Nobody checked the core, like what happened to this child. Maybe she got molested or something. Nobody, that's also things I wasn't thinking at that time, but I had so many questions because I was curious. I was like, what do you mean? Like, how did she get introduced to that? Like, how does she know? She's like, oh, they were just saying that it's normal, like that they just explore themselves. I was like, who explores themselves that way? The little girl was 7 years old. She was 7 years old. And it had been happening for a while.
When you're a baby and you're like doing all these things. I know a boy that's 12 and he masturbates and the parents think it's funny. They were saying that because it felt good, they were confused it was abuse. Yeah.
And that's the problem, that because it feels good is now being categorized as in like, well, it's pleasure, so technically nobody's being raped or nobody's being molested or the person's asking for it. And it's like, we don't understand the waters that we're treading right now, and we don't understand this crazy storm that we're about to hit, and it's gonna be bad. Because that's the people don't understand, like I said, the strategies. There's like very specific strategies that if you put together the recipe, it's a disaster for sure. You know what I'm saying? And we're not doing that. It's over-sexualizing children. There was a video of this private school in New York, so it's not far from, society. And this lady played in kindergarten or pre-K, I can't remember. But she's like a school board something representative in New York State. And she chose that private school and showed this video telling children that it's okay to do that, to masturbate. And that's a cartoon that she showed to 5-year-olds and 4-year-olds. And the parents went and had a whole thing. But we don't understand that they start testing these little things, and we don't pay attention to, we dismiss it, we think it's not gonna happen, and then boom, by the time you realize there's a whole sex ed program in your school teaching kids about masturbation and anal sex, and now you don't know what to do with yourself. So we need to be aware as parents, what is the sexual content that's being taught to our children?
Exactly.
What is being normalized by these psychiatrists that have like master's degrees, or because they have master's degrees, we listen to everything they say. But this has been happening for years, the same way with critical race theory and all this indoctrination that we're doing to our children. Like, this doesn't just come from nowhere. We have to realize when there's an actual like recipe playing its part. We have to wake up as a society and realize that, because it's not okay.
Hell no, my children are homeschooled. They ain't stepping foot in these people. So I was reading something here, and it says every 9 minutes, government authorities respond to another report of child sexual abuse. Every 9 minutes? What?
And they get molested in foster care system too. They get molested in juvenile centers.
That's not ours. That's not ours. That's all just so they can continue their sick ass perverted fucking lifestyle that they want to do and destroy our children. That's what those systems are there for. Like, we should have our own child services, child protective services, you know what I mean? Our own place where these children can go to and actually be protected, because how the fuck is every 9 minutes they're getting a call about a sexual abuse? Do you know how many children that is? Do you know how many predators that is? That's predators.
It's probably extremely close to the number of children that go missing in this country over sexual assault as well. It's not like a normal amount. Like, people think 800,000 children a year sounds like nothing, but that's still U.S. alone. And that's the average.
Most of the time, the numbers, you could double that, because we only get a certain amount of numbers they be giving to us, because those numbers also, they always downplay that shit.
All the children that are born without any type of anybody paying attention to them, and they just disappear. They don't go into the system.
Here's the sad part. Some of the parents, they would get paid off to put them kids with predators right there. Some of the parents are part of the shit. I remember I was watching that shit with R. Kelly, and I see the mom outside fighting for a daughter. Now, I understand that sometimes teenagers are going to be teenagers and do really stupid shit, right? But there was also ones that the parents took him to the concert and let him go out with them to dinner or whatever because he was R. Kelly. And it's
who does that? The stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't care who you are, bro.
Opportunity for their daughter to be a singer or this or that, and it's like, bitch,
you just sold your child.
You just sold your fucking child. So whatever happens to them, it's literally your fault. It's literally your fault. Like, you are destroying your child right now.
And I know we don't want to think of it like that, but that's what we have to think about, because.
And it's like, even with the industry, you look at Hollywood. I don't even want to get into Hollywood. How many of these parents sell those children off? Okay, for a check. They will make their children do anything. There was my sister-in-law was telling me, I heard the milk cartons were advertisement. Yep. Oh,
they were. Yes.
That's
crazy. We need to do one on that. We should do one on that, because that's a good one. You know, I can't see none of the comments. Like, I think this thing froze. I can't see none of the comments.
You can't? Oh, snap.
No, it won't let me.
It said I heard the milk cartons were advertisement. But here's the crazy part. There was talking about Hollywood. My sister-in-law just told me that basically there was a movie that a person wrote, and they had to deal with abuse, child sexual abuse. And whatever the child that was supposed to play the kid that got abused or whatever, the mother pulled him out of the role. And I said, I understand that. I completely understand that, mother, for doing that. Because people get this Hollywood thing really, really twisted. It's not all the way just art, okay? Let's put
that division there, okay? Because some things need to be sorted out and separated.
Shit and say it's art. No. Certain things, even, let's take away molestation in that. Let's just say a role that is very emotionally demanding for a child. For a child, and I'm talking about like 4 or 5, that you see these actors, and they be great. They are amazing child actors. They will sit there and have you crying with them. But what is that doing when the mind cannot separate reality from non-reality to know that the body inside of that child doesn't know that this is not really happening?
Mm-hmm.
To them, it's happening. So as they are acting in these roles and reliving these moments in this make-believe world, they are receiving that trauma. Like, that trauma is downloading as if it's actually happening, even if they're just acting and there's all these cameras. Your brain don't know, oh, it's just a movie.
It's just a joke.
It's just a joke. So I totally understand why the mom would do something like that, because we can't just accept whatever role for our children, not really understanding the psychology of what it's doing to them.
Yes, okay. Exactly.
When you hear about Britney Spears, you hear about all these childhood actors, and they all have what in common? That they were sexually abused by somebody in the industry for years. Can't separate themselves from the characters. They can't. They were molested by somebody or raped or whatever by somebody in the industry.
Or still are.
They
still use these young kids all the time.
Why do you think a lot of them got into drugs, got into this, got into all these things to escape from that? Because they were young.
No hay ni una persona normal.
And all that, what does that come down to? That comes down to the greed of money that certain parents are not willing to let go. Their desperation of that. Then it manifests, but it's really grooming. Yes, exactly. So these parents are not realizing, like, all these little things that you think for fame, for money, for this, dude, you're destroying your child. You're destroying your child. When people be like, why don't you have Tristan in modeling and this? I did it when he was a baby. I tried, and then you know what I said? I said, you know what? When he's old enough to be able to protect himself and be able to filter this accordingly, if he chooses to do it, cool. But as of right now, I'm going to let my child be a child and be a baby, be a baby. Because this life, we only have its one experience. And I don't want to overshadow it with him trying to be something else and getting used to, as a baby, being something else or being a character or being whatever and losing yourself within that. I just want you to find yourself by yourself without that much influence. You're going to have your regular influence of me, your family, your this, your that, your environment, all this stuff like that. But when it comes to acting, we start to get a little bit more deeper psychologically when it comes to modeling, to all these different things. And I'm not saying that kids can't do it. Absolutely. But you also got to know your kids. There's different types of kids. Everybody's different. Their level of maturity at a certain age. Okay. And stuff like that. I just felt like mine were not at that level of maturity where I feel like they were ready for something like that. So that's why it's like, no, I'd rather protect them in who they are as opposed to trying to do this just because it's cool to have your children, you know, be these things, and it's cute and all, and it's beautiful, but your child got to be your child. And like I said, I don't think you got to know your child. My child was not meant for that. And there's other children that are. There's other parents that are able to, because you have to protect your children.
Yeah, like that they can be present there with them all the time and stuff like that.
Because it's like
that's great.
Is one thing, it's a little safer, but when
it's a lot safer.
It's a lot safer when it comes to modeling, because that's them being themselves. They can still be themselves, you know, while they're just, you know, putting on these clothes. But when it comes to acting, that gets deeper. Now we get into here. Now we get into the mind not being able to separate.
And if we want to talk about Hollywood, I think another thing that is crazy to me is that a lot of these famous people make really disgusting jokes and we don't say anything about it. But the second, like, for example, everybody's going crazy about these trans jokes or whatever, that they were clearly jokes and they had a very intentional message to them. Oh, with Dave Chappelle, and they're trying to cancel him and stuff or whatever. But what I say is, like, you can feel whatever way you want to feel about that. That's not my point. My point is that we allow the same comedians, not Dave Chappelle, but there was other comedians that have all these, like, really disgusting jokes about, like, raping children or about seeing, like, babies naked or about eating children. And, like, okay, we'd be like, oh, it's so fake that it's, like, funny. And it's like, you know how sick your mind has to be? Not only for you to think something like that could be a joke, but then for you to say it and laugh out loud in front of people. Like, your mind has to be very sick for you to do that. And I know people don't want to say that, but it's true. Like, how do you think people get these like movie things? You have to go through some shit. Like,
it's true, because even when I saw his special, I don't know if it was this one. It was one I saw. I think it was this one. I can't remember because I fell asleep in one of them. Maybe I fell asleep in the recent one, but I remember there was something he said, and it was just ya te pasaste, you know what I mean? Like, when I heard it, I was like, all right, that's not funny.
Yeah, and a lot of people will be there sitting there cracking up. And it's like as a society, how do we think that all those child-related things are okay? But when we want to talk about sexuality now, we're like, we can't offend people and we can't say the truth and voice opinions and stuff like that. Like we have to, we've been such a over-sexualized society that now we're normalizing even things that are abnormal.
It's crazy.
That are not normal. Like just because it happens a lot doesn't mean we have to normalize it. People get raped all the time. Should we fucking normalize rape? Hell no.
Hell no.
You know what I'm saying? So just because something happens all the time doesn't mean it has to be normalized. So we also have to understand, like, people say sick jokes sometimes too. I also, there was something else that I wanted to mention that I spoke to her a lot, because she ended up being like the black sheep of the family, or like somebody that's always deemed as aggressive, or somebody that's always deemed as like que habla demasiado. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Okay, habla demasiado. Or she was always labeled as the person that had too much to say and stuff like that, right? But what we don't realize is that our children adapt to the environment. And situations like that can put them on flight or fight mode, or put them on survival mode for the rest of their lives. And now these people are stuck in a cycle where they can only think of like things they can get in the moment. They cannot even imagine a future for themselves because they already trapped themselves in the survival mode bubble and they can't leave that. And this shit is so messed up that we as parents don't realize that this is so damaging. We should know. And then on top of that, like, we don't realize, but we create sexual predators out of women. Because now this woman knows that she can manipulate someone through sexuality. And now the same way that sexuality was used as a tool to manipulate her, she can now learn to use those same tools to manipulate the men that come into her life. And then we repeat these cycles because now she has children that might learn, you know, this person doesn't have children, but I'm just saying, like, that's how it becomes generational curses, because we never had that conversation. We never had that moment where we're like, wait, this doesn't have to continue. This is not something that we have to do. And I want to say something. Look, my mom kept me in that bubble. My mom kept me locked up. My mom kept me locked down. And the very few times that I was able to go do stuff, I learned a lot. Like, I learned around with my surroundings very, very fast, because I felt I had limited time. So when I was out, it was like, pew, 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 catching all, like, what everybody, how people act. And that gave me insight to know how I didn't want to act, right? So when my mom let me go to the Dominican Republic, there was this cousin of ours that was always around us. And he was very nice, but he was much older. And he was sold to us as our cousin. To me, cousin, that's it. That made the distinction that we were family.
We were family, that's it.
And that was very clear. We don't even need to have conversations about that, because family's family, and that doesn't cross with sexuality. Like, it just doesn't. That's how I was raised. Now, that's not to say how my whole society was raised. That's a whole nother thing. But in my house, once you said we were cousins, that's what that meant in my eyes. So this guy was being very cariñoso. Like, he would play with my hair, in my head, we're cousins. I don't even like those things. I'm not a very touchy person. But because I didn't want to be mean or disrespectful, I would let him, like, touch my hair. Or he would want to, like, hold my hand. And then one day I was like, you know, I don't like to hold hands. Like, I just think it's weird. Like, I just want to, like, play. I was 13 years old. Trying to, like, run into the forest and pick fresh fruits, ride horses. Like, I'm in the campo. That's what I wanted to do. And I was so into those things that I didn't realize that this guy was hawking me. And he would, like, try to put me in certain, I'm telling you, it's like, and I was so innocent. I didn't realize. But one day we go to the house. It was me, him, and my cousin. my god sister, who was a little bit older than me. So she was very savvy also. She was a little savvier than me. And we ended up like sitting down, and I laid my head on his lap. I was comfortable because he was my cousin, his family. So something happened in DR, se fue la luz. When that happened, he like took it as like, oh my God, we're alone. Like the lights are off, whatever. And he gave me a tap kiss en la boca. And I felt so disgusted. I got up and I was like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, why would you do that? And I just walked away. I remember I held that in for a week. I took a shower, like, and it was just a tap kiss. This man didn't put his tongue in my mouth, nothing. He didn't even get.
Your intuition felt that there was something trying to happen right there.
You know, and like I said, I was innocent. I didn't know anything. But when he did that, I just felt like, yo, you violated me because I trusted my energy around you. And you just like, you stole some without my permission. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that's what I was feeling. So I held it in for a week. And then oh my God, look, I'm getting emotional because I held it in for that week. And it wasn't until my god sister, she noticed that I was avoiding him. And I told her she was only like a year. She probably, I did tell her that, yeah. But she was like 2 years, a year and a half, maybe older than me.
Someone said he raped you spiritually.
Yeah, he did. He raped me spiritually. That's what he did. And you know what? I thank God it was all in that way. And I was very aware. After that, I was so aware, nobody could fool me because I realized a lot of things that I realized I was in my little children world and I didn't notice. But that shit grounded me. So after that, I told her what happened. I took her to a room. I went into the room and then I was like, no, espérate, I need somewhere else. Like, and I was like, let's go to the woods. Like, I felt like I didn't have privacy. Like I couldn't express. I felt like somebody was watching me. Yo, I wasn't even a person. I brushed my teeth once a day. And I was brushing my teeth 3-4 times a day. Every time that thought came into my mind, I had to go brush my mouth. I felt disgusting. And when I finally told her, I broke down. I didn't even realize how bad that had affected my mental. I was doing things I didn't realize. I avoided this guy. I would go places and hang out with people that I didn't even want to hang out with, that I thought were like boring, because I didn't want him to be my ride. I didn't trust you. I felt weird. I felt that if I would have let him, he would have done more. And this guy, till this day, I haven't said a word to that man, and he sees me. And I've only been to DR a couple of times. And I said to myself, the next time that I go to DR, I'm going to say something, because he would go on every single trip if he found out I was there, and he would go trying to find out what happened, why I stopped talking to him. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized that this man genuinely didn't really understand. I know the trip that I went, that he avoided me, I saw guilt in his eyes. And I know that maybe he had finally realized what he did. And he never went back again. And I will see him and he'll go the other way. But it was a lesson to teach me that even though my mom had me locked down and all this stuff, I learned and I knew, and I've always been like with that intuition, like I've always been strong with that. And that could have gone, I don't honestly think that it could have been even worse, because my godmother was really on top of me also. Like I'm telling you, she only let me do things with that man because he was my cousin, and my family genuinely trusted him. Like my mom genuinely trusted this man. My mom wouldn't let me go to DR with anybody but my godmother, because she also kept me on a lockdown. You know what I'm saying? But I was on a lockdown with 2 people, and a situation like that still happened with somebody that I trusted, that my mom trusted, that my godmother trusted, that my god sister trusted, that him himself trusted himself, because he wasn't even aware. So I just want to I wanted to share that story, because even though like it didn't affect me later on in life, I think that once I let it out and I voiced it, I did some major healing. And I was in my land. I was grounding. I was connected to the ground. I was walking barefoot every day. I was getting sunlight every day. I was eating fresh fruits every day, and food and meat that was like right from my backyard. So I do think that all those things played a very heavy part. But also, like, as an adult, that stayed with me to learn to manipulate others. And that was something that I had to come into, like, and realize, like, girl, you're on the verge of being like a parasite in a way, where the power you have and you're using it, and I'm using it so well that the other person gives it gracefully and doesn't realize that they're being played, But that's something that I realized from having, like, since yesterday we were talking about this, and I was thinking of the process that I went through and everything, and I was like, yo, nobody from my family ever knew that. And to this day, I don't think I ever had to share it with anybody. But now moving forward, I am going to have the conversations. And when I see this man, I am going to pull him aside and say, like, yo, you really fucked with me. Like, and to me, it was a violation, because I really trusted you. And, I forgive you. I've been forgave you. But I don't know if maybe he needs that to forgive himself. I don't know.
It might open up something that he didn't even know of, something he went through.
Exactly. But those are conversations.
Yeah, because that's the thing, that when we start talking about and having these conversations, you will be surprised at other people. There's a lot of people that you know, but you'll be surprised at other people that you didn't even know growing up was sexually abused in some way. Because now it's more common that people are talking about it, not being afraid no more. You know? And we have to make sure that with anything we do with our children, that communication is one of the most important things we have with them.
Yeah.
All across the board.
For sure.
That no matter what, even if for whatever reason something happens and they couldn't protect themselves, you know what I mean? That they know that they can come to us for us to handle that. Because you know what happens in those moments? I remember when it happened to me when I was 30 something, I just froze. Like, I was able to jump away when the person tried to, touch me inappropriately. What they did, and then I jumped away. Pero my whole body froze. Like, literally started shaking and freezing, and an anxiety attack through the roof. Like, I was losing it. You know what I mean? So it's like, you do freeze at that moment, because you're just like, did that just happen? Like, it's like, it happens
so
fast sometimes. You're not really understanding what happened, because you don't want to believe that happened. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Said my uncle never touched me, but every time I slept in my cousin's house, I felt violated. And later on in life, I realized which was spiritual rape. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you said, Denisha, you got to teach these kids about their intuition and to trust that. Because one thing about me is that although I've never was violated as a child, I did have moments where I was around people that made me feel uncomfortable. And I didn't want to be around them no more. And they may have never done nothing to me, but something in my spirit didn't like them either even touching me. I didn't want to hug them. Nothing felt right.
Yeah.
That was just me. And
they're clear signs.
I wouldn't do it. And my dad was never the type to be like, you better hug, you better this. My dad always was like, you respect who respects you. Age don't have a respect. If they don't respect you, you don't respect them. So when shit will go down and there'll be an older person, I'm here speaking my mind, they're like, you're not gonna say nothing to her. They're like, well, you disrespecting her, so she gonna say what she gonna say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like your intuition is everything, because you can feel, you can sense something. They can do it by just their eyes, and that's why Muslim culture covers everything. Yes,
that's what I was gonna say too.
You know what happened to me one time? Before we go, because I know these kids are waiting for me. I was in oh my God. There's two situations I gotta tell you about. One, I was in the train, and in New York City, when the trains are packed, you are in there stacked in like that, right? With people. So I'm here on my way to work, and I'm on the train, and it's packed as hell, morning rush hour, and I feel like a poke in my butt, and I'm like, wait. So I try to you see nuevamente, how you say that, right? I try to turn, and I see this man, and I'm like in my head, please tell me that was an accident. Like, please tell me a book bag, his arm maybe by accident hit my butt.
Something.
I feel it again. Now I'm like, all right, what the fuck? So when I turn and actually look, he took his penis out of his pants, okay, and had it on my butt. Oh, go over there. Let me. I promise you, I'm almost done. Yes, I got it.
Damn.
Okay, thank you.
That was the wrong moment, Tristan. Wrong moment.
Anyways, Oh my God. But yo, yes, it was his penis. He had his penis out and he touched me with it. Yo, I screamed in that train, and New York City does not play. I was like, he has his dick out. He has his dick out. And I was like, you motherfucker. And I had like a mug of like coffee, and I swung it at him, and people were like, what happened? What happened? I said, he just put his dick out. Like, yo, all the men in there fucked him up. Beat his ass. And my stop was the next one to get off. And I had to get off. I had to go to work. And I was like, thank you so much. And I ran out.
Bye.
Bye. My guy was getting fucked up outside. I will never forget going to work and telling my coworkers, because I needed a minute, because it was just,
it was too much.
I wanted to go home, to take a shower, to take the clothes off. I felt so disgusted. I was like, oh my God. Like on the train.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yo, but they beat his ass. I ain't gonna lie. They fucked him up. Then a second time,
wait,
really quick,
before you start, before you go to the next one, you should be grateful for that also, because nowadays, you heard that the girl that got raped on the train, and everyone literally sat there and watched and recorded it and didn't even call the cops. They recorded and watched it happen, and not ni una persona se paró de ahí y la ayudó, which I think is like another thing that we're teaching society, is to look the other way and to mind our business, which is okay to a certain point, but there's a certain point where, as a human being, it's your fucking duty to stand up for your fellow human that's being harassed, not even harassed, dead ass raped on the train.
What?
Like, there was not one man in there.
No.
That's crazy. No. That's crazy.
There was a few men there. When I said that he pulled his thing out, they went crazy on him. Then another time I was at a diner with my friend. We were out to eat, and the bathroom was like across that way. And I'm eating food, whatever. Y yo miro como yo veo algo like a movement, but I'm not. I'm just it's just weird to me what I keep seeing by the bathroom. Mm-hmm. So then I finally keep looking, and I see it's a guy beating his meat, looking at me in the bathroom right there. Yo, I told my homegirl. They called their manager. They told them. I was like, get me out of here right now. But I told them that he was in there doing X, Y, and Z, whatever. But I couldn't even eat anymore. I couldn't do nothing. Like, and this
disgusting.
Is the thing. Just that, and I wasn't even touched. But just the fact that somebody even was sick enough to do that. Like that, yo, I felt so nasty. I was like, I can't eat. Get me out of here. Whatever. The people in the restaurant I guess he was some random crazy person in the neighborhood that would go in there to use the bathroom. But apparently he was going there to do something else, to look at people and jerk off. That happened to me before coming out of the store. Oh my God. You see, like, that's crazy.
It's crazy. And then, like, we have to also just make those things very well aware. Because I was a very, like, talk person. Like, why are you looking at me? Don't look at me like that. Like, I don't like that. That's disrespectful. And I'm very clear. But I've always been like that since I was young. Like, just be clear. Speak your mind. And that's not something that was taught to me or anything. So if your children are not like that, you have to do certain things to make sure. Because, like I said, I was very aware of the things that I didn't like. I might have not known 100% the things that I did like, but I sure as hell knew the things that I did not want to be a part of. Till this day, I'm still that person. I dabbed in a lot of things before, but nothing like that would compromise me as a human being in that way. Where, like, what? I just couldn't allow people to do things I was not okay with. So if your children are not that type,
it's like I was the type people were kind of scared of.
Yes. Me too.
I was just a crazy loud one, like, don't fucking touch me. I was that crazy child. So I think we were just terrified. They're like, this bitch is gonna tell the world or whatever. I don't know, but that's not to say a loud child won't get violated. At the end of the day, all right, we got to close out. But thank you guys for tuning in with us. Thank you to whoever watches afterwards. If you're somebody that went through this and you want to share your experience and talk about it, like, hit us up, because we want to be able to, after we do these topics, get real people with real stories to come in and share their experiences, share their healing, because that's how we're all going to help each other as a community.
Yes. And also also from the last video that we had, I want to say thank you, because a lot of people reached out and I got like a lot of feedback. And I just want to say that not only did the people that called me go through major healing, but I went through some major healing, that even like nooks and crannies of things that I hadn't expressed that I wanted to let out. And like, because you're talking about conversations and stuff like that, we need to have these conversations. Like, don't just, the same way you felt brave enough to hit me up, hit up your mom, hit up your parents, or hit up your cousins, and have these conversations within the family, because that's the reason they go too far. It's because we don't ever nip them in the butt and have the proper conversations about them.
Wow, Jen. Let's have a session, Jen, one day if you're down, and you can talk about your experience with us.
What'd she say? I can't see that.
She said, I did as a child, but I told my younger brother when I was a lot older what happened. So yeah, if you're down to open up, you know, I mean, we could have that conversation one of these Mommy Mondays. That's what any topic that we've ever covered. If you want to share your experience and just open up about it, that's the start to a lot of the healing, you know?
Yeah. Just saying it in a loud voice will already initiate some energy passage that's going to open up everything. Everything is connected.
Everything. But all right, y'all, this was dope today. I really love these. I literally look forward to them every Monday.
I do, me too.
All right, y'all. Well, you know, we'll be back next week. I'm not sure what we're doing next week, but we'll be back next week with more uncomfortable conversations. You know, it's still emotional for me. Man, I could imagine.
Yeah.
Like, people still dealing with stuff. I was just talking to a friend that she was going to come on, but she's still dealing with it. And I get it.
Yeah, that was hard.
I get it. But thank you. And we will see you guys next week.
Thank you.